that episode was so, so good. It was so good. I'm so happy. I think the first 4 episodes of this block didn't impress me. But the second 4 episodes, the second half of this block, the second half of the second half of the season, or whatever, the second half of the second third of the final season has been really good. So yeah, that was really cinematic, and I guess it left off on a good cliffhanger because it really does leave me excited for the final block of episodes. I'm really I'm really hyped. And it was very cinematic. I do have some critiques always, but overall it was really, really good, and I'm really pleased. Okay, so we start out with they're jumping around the timeline. I don't know that that was necessary in this episode, but it wasn't bad. Like, it worked. But yeah, we start out with that body, and I was pretty sure instantly, like, you can see the feathers on the arrows, and as soon as we saw, I don't even know this guy's name. As soon as we saw him, I'm like, oh yeah, he's the obvious red shirt in this group. So that's probably him. So yeah. One of the biggest parts of this episode is that Maggie takes Herschel to Negan for protection. Oh my God. That's just so satisfying. It's so satisfying. We see actually a lot of growth from Maggie in this episode, and throughout this part of this season as well. I'm really, really pleased with the direction that Maggie is going, with the direction that they're taking that character. Not that I would ever want or expect her to forget or even necessarily forgive. Sprinkler system just kicked on, sorry. Not that I would want or even expect her to forgive Negan for what he did to Glenn. And certainly she's never going to forget. But in this world, things are complicated, and I think that Negan has proven himself trustworthy. And Maggie's coming around, and when she was talking to Leah, about like understanding that she wants revenge, but that it's not gonna, like, nothing is going to make her, like, make the bad feelings go away, essentially. Obviously she's talking about herself and how she feels about Negan, and I just think that it shows so much character growth, which obviously we need for the spinoff to work. But I think that they've done a really good job in their whole dynamic. I think Maggie and Negan, if I look back on it, really, I think they've done a fantastic job of this relationship and progressing, kind of all of the stages. And I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen to get them to go off together into a spinoff at the end of this series. I'm worried for Annie, I think is her name, just because I don't know that she's going to survive into the spinoff. So obviously I'm worried about her and Negan's unborn child. Don't know what's going to happen there. But the whole dynamic is really, really, really interesting. I think they've done a great job, and I think those actors have done a great job, and I'm just so pleased. I'm so happy. And it feels organic. It really feels like an organic kind of gradual transition to Maggie slowly starting to trust Negan. And yeah, I'm really pleased and really impressed. So, I did think it was a little weird. Well, and I loved too, I said this in the reaction, but I love that They apparently were using a whisperer, what did they call it? A wormhole or something like that. I think that's so cool. That must have been, you know, something that Lydia was like, hey, there's this place that we used to hide, or, you know, used to take shelter. It would make sense that the Whisperers would need some place to go away from the walkers, right? The zombies, whatever they called them. What did they call them? The Guardians. God, I miss the Whisperers. So good. I miss the Whisperers so much. But anyway, but yeah, obviously they would kind of need a place to go and hide and like do people things. We did see that they had a camp, but it makes sense that they would have these little wormholes or whatever. And so I just think it's really cool that that's, you know, that we're using that. And but I didn't understand why they retrieved them. Like, Hornsby isn't dead. The army isn't dead. So I'm not really sure. She was kind of like, well, Leah's dead. Let me go get everybody. And I was like, wait, but it's not over. Anyway, speaking of Leah, Leah has that big villain energy that I crave. I think that the actress has done a phenomenal job with what she's been given. I think that the character was not serviced. They could have done so much. Like, she could have had such a great arc, and they squandered it. The whole thing with her being a love interest for Daryl, I'd said previously that if Daryl had to kill her, that it might make her whole arc and that whole relationship worth it kind of retroactively. But, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I do hope that he has to deal with it. Like, he has to deal with those feelings, because this is somebody that he cared about. I mean, it's been, what, 11 years, 12 years in this apocalypse, and this is the only partner that he's had, and he just had to kill her. I would hope that he would have, you know, feelings about that, and we would have to deal with those feelings and with the consequences. Of course he was going to kill her. Of course he was going to save Maggie. There's not even, you know, a question about that. But you'd still probably feel a certain way about killing your ex-lover, someone who he was living with. I just think that was so mishandled. And it makes me mad because I don't think that making them a couple, I don't think that added anything to Leah's character or to her arc or to her death. I don't think that added anything to Daryl's character or his arc or him having to kill her. Like, none of that seemed to matter. So she could have just been a friend. She could have just been, and I'm not opposed to Daryl having a love interest. I mean, obviously I want it to be Connie, but it doesn't have to be Connie. Like, I am open to Daryl being with anybody, but I just want it to be, you know, natural. And I want to see it happening. I don't want it to just, you know, come out of nowhere. And so that was the issue, that not only did it come out of nowhere, but it was in the past and it was secret, and like, it was, what? I mean, we talked about the giant what the fuck of episode 1018. So go watch that review. I don't have any more to say about it. I've said my piece. But I just don't think that that relationship was worth it or justified. However, I wanted Leah to be a villain. I wanted her to be the villain. And I think that actress is great. Like, she gives good villain energy, and I love her look and everything. And I mean, there were a couple times she was like the fucking Terminator when she comes out with the music and slow-mo, and I'm just like, damn, like, she's gonna fuck some shit up. And I mean, yeah, she did, but I wanted more. I would have preferred to have her instead of Pope, and then maybe this would be satisfying. In fact, I think this would be satisfying if she had been the villain instead of Pope. I think that they screwed this up, the beginning of the season. I think that's when they screwed this up, because yeah, Pope was just not at all interesting to me at all. And I think that if Leah had been the villain the whole time, then this would have been satisfying. And I did love that fight between Leah and Maggie. I thought that was one of the best choreographed fights this show's ever done. And they didn't use too much, shaky cam. It was great. And I'm glad that Leah got the upper hand, though, because she does have military training, and so it only makes sense that she's going to get the upper hand in that situation. And the whole time I was expecting Daryl to come in, but I was arguing with myself. I was debating with myself whether or not it would be more satisfying for Daryl to kill Leah, or for Maggie to kill Leah. And I really wanted it to be worth it if Daryl was the one to kill her. I really wanted some consequences, and, I really wanted that to be worth it. So I was kind of going back and forth about what I wanted, but the whole time I was expecting Daryl to come in and kill Leah and save Maggie. And I was like debating with myself, do I want that? Or do I want Maggie to, beat her fair and square? Like, do I want Maggie to kill her? And in the end, we'll have to see what happens with Daryl and how he deals with it. My prediction is that he's not going to deal with it at all. That it won't be mentioned, or it'll barely be mentioned, and there will be no lasting consequences, and he'll just go about his life. And so I think if that's the case, then I really would have preferred that Maggie had killed her. But we'll see. I'll reserve judgment until we see if Daryl has to actually deal with it or not. But I think that was, all in all, I do think they could have handled Leah better, but she was a badass bitch and a great villain, and it pretty satisfying overall in this episode. And much more earned than Hornsby. I wish that we had seen a little bit more of Hornsby sort of unraveling and losing control, because I do feel like his turn was a little quick. So I would have liked more, I wanted to see him sweat a little bit more, but he gives good villain energy to a different kind of villain, and I've actually come around to really liking Hornsby as a villain, and I was expecting him to die in this episode. I guess he's gonna survive at least until the next one, maybe. And boy, did he underestimate our people. Oh my god. I love that scene when Daryl, Aaron, and Gabriel they all knew they were being set up. They're going to be ambushed. Our people are so fucking smart. And 2 of them got shot and still kicked ass. I love it. I love it so much. Oh, it's so great. The whole time, though, when they showed us that shot of the snake, I was so worried. I was like, oh God, who's going to get bit by the snake? Nothing came of the snake, but the whole time I was just hyper focused on the snake. I don't know why they showed us the snake when nothing came of it, but anyway, I loved that scene. I was a little worried about Gabriel and Aaron, but because they each got shot, and I was like, uh-oh. But they are apparently totally fine, so cool. I will say that scene when we had Maggie, Daryl, and Leah in the woods, I think that scene would have been so tense if we didn't know that Daryl and Maggie were going to make it out totally fine. I think that really, knowledge of the spin-offs, man, it just really, really robs the show of tension. But I did feel tension for Gabriel and Aaron. And there were other times when we had some really good tension. Max, who, you know, I don't really care about. I haven't really bonded with her, although I do think that she and Eugene are so sweet together. They're so cute. And I'm really proud of Eugene for trusting again so quickly. And he's getting some action this season. I love it. Good for him. He deserves it. So you know, Max seems like she's for real. And, so I'm warming up to her, but I haven't like bonded to her. But I did feel nervous when she was with that fucking slime ball. Oh, what's his name? I hate this little prick so much. What is his name? You know, the kid, Milton's kid, whatever his name is. I hate that guy. There was some genuine tension there. And so that was really good. And I'm really worried about Oceanside. Is he flipping a coin to decide whether or not he executes the members of Oceanside? Because that's what I'm concerned about. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't exactly bonded with any of them either, except for Luke, but Luke is nowhere to be found. But still, you know, they don't deserve that. So that's a little worrying. But yeah, he's completely unhinged at this point. Hornsby. I don't think he's going to make it back to the Commonwealth alive. I don't think so. I think he's totally unhinged. So the only other thing that I'll say is that I've talked about this a bunch of times, I know, but I went to Atlanta, I went to Sonoy, back in October, and so I knew some spoilers. Not really spoilers, but like I had a little bit of information because I took a bunch of tours, a bunch of Walking Dead tours, and so I found out certain things. And so I knew, for example, that Rosita was going to live in, you know, like her apartment. Like I saw, they're like, oh, this is Rosita's apartment when she lives at the Commonwealth. And that was, you know, before season 11 even started. And so I was aware that Rosita was going to the Commonwealth, and I knew where her apartment was. And there were some other like little details like that I was aware of but didn't know the context. But one of them was that when we visited, the sign, the Welcome to Alexandria sign, was removed from the Alexandria gate. And we were told that they had just recently filmed a scene where the Commonwealth flag had been draped over. And so you know, and I mean, I think we all knew that the Commonwealth was going to take over Alexandria at some point anyway. But I had a little bit of knowledge that that was for sure going to happen. So it was kind of cool. Like I totally forgot about that until I saw it in this episode. And I was like, oh, right. That's what they had just filmed, when we were there. And so, yeah, when we went up to the main gate, it didn't have that Welcome to Alexandria sign, which I was so bummed about because I wanted a picture in front of it. I mean, I have a picture in front of the wall, or in front of the gate, rather. I have a picture in front of the gate, but I don't have a picture in front of the gate that says Welcome to Alexandria. But anyway, so that's it. That's all I've got to say about this episode. I do think it was really cinematic. I'm not sure about the whole plague of locusts. Like, I really thought that was going to factor in somehow. I'm assuming it's locusts. I don't know. I don't even really know what a locust is, to be honest. Is it like a hornet or something? I don't know. What is a locust? Locusts are a group of certain species of short-horned grasshoppers. Locusts are grasshoppers. That does not seem very scary when you think about it. Grasshoppers are not very scary, although they're pretty big. I guess you wouldn't want a whole bunch of them flying around. Anyway, whatever. I'll shut up now. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to lead somewhere or not. You know, it was like the first act of God. And so I was like, okay, and I was expecting like several more acts of God. So I guess maybe in the second part, when we come back from hiatus, there will be another act of God or something. But I was a little disappointed that the plague of locusts or whatever like didn't really lead anywhere. So, but anyway, it was a really good episode, and I'm really pleased and really energized for the final 8. So anyway, I guess I'll see you again whenever the show comes back. We don't have a release date for the final 8 episodes, so I'll see you when I see you. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye!